What's up, everyone? My name is Stephen Michaels. I am joined by Phil Robinson. This is the Raiders Weekly, where we will talk about what has been happening throughout the week. We'll go over the disaster against the Colts and tell you all about the game coming up. What's up, Phil?
Man, this team has driven me to smoke. I need some stress relief whenever I think about the Raiders right now. But I'm here to offer I don't something to the people. But we'll go into it. They got ran over by the Colts, and now they got. Hopefully, they don't get bucked by the Broncos.
This is a Raiders team that let Matt Ryan run 40 yards on a single run. Matt Ryan, a guy who is basically like he has fake skin on, or looks like he's 100 years old. Yeah, and he ran 40 yards off the Raiders. This team is completely in shambles from the offense to the defense. You have a quarterback who has regressed tremendously in a year. I mean, he's good when he's actually running, which is weird, but he doesn't do enough of that. I don't know if that's a scheme thing. I don't know. But when he's running and throwing the football, it seems like he gets guys open. Maybe because he's using his eyes. But when he sits there like a statue, big mistakes happen. He's going to get sacked eventually. So, yeah, they can't seem to get anything right. Devontae Adams and Josh Jacobs are only two weapons they have. And, yeah, they can't outscore teams. The Colts loss was pretty much, I've been doing this for almost 10 years now. That might have been the most embarrassing loss of all time just because they got out coached by, first of all, a guy who had no NFL coaching whatsoever. He was 0-1 in high school, and now he's 1-0 in the NFL. And their signal caller was the assistant. Remember, the assistant quarterback coach who has never called plays in his life outcoached the Raiders. I mean, that is just remarkable, honestly. And Matt Ryan, a guy who, I mean, look at him. He sucked all season long, couldn't complete a 5-yard pass, is slicing and dicing the Raiders. And the Raiders offense don't do anything at all in the second half. Derek Carr cries after the game. And, to be honest, listen, I don't think this guy should be crying. At the end of that football game, that dude had the ball in his hands with a chance to win. And yes, you're playing against the worst team in football. That any quarterback, you can ask any quarterback, that's what they want. The ball in their hands at the end of the game with a chance to win it. And he absolutely blew it. And then he's crying about it. So I don't know why he's crying about it. He's the one that lost the football game. Yeah, I mean, it's not going to fix anything. You beat the Colts. You're not going anywhere this season regardless. But you still, I mean, the ball was in your hands at the end of the game. What do you think about that, Phil?
Red zone passing efficiency is one of Carr's largest weaknesses, and without having the clock running on fourth down, didn't necessarily need the touchdown. A lot of people will say that he had Foster open, and I'll say that when he threw the ball, he did not have Foster open.
Yeah, people say that. Well, real quick, I hate when people do this. They take the video clip, right, and they pause it.
Yeah.
They pause it at the time the ball's already coming out of his hands. Like, it's already happening. You can't take a real time thing and pause. But, oh, well, look, he was open. Well, the ball was already. I mean, like, it's already going that way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But people do that all the time. They'll pause and be like, look at these guys. They're open. Why didn't he throw over there? Because the play already happened. But, I mean, Foster is still doing his route. He's not even sitting on his route yet. So I mean,
not only that, but as the football Einsteins and PFF couch analyzers will soon overlook, there's a linebacker that's sitting right over the top of his in-breaking route. And the moment that Carr looks at him and goes to throw the ball, he's cutting the route off and picking the ball off because he's going to throw it right to him.
He had a spy right behind him. Like, it was right there. I mean, it would have been an interception.
Easy.
It looks good on video when you press pause.
But the other thing that you got to that they don't realize is that so now you got two different aspects. So you're looking at the guy on top of Foster, But are you looking at the defensive end that's about to lay him out? It's not. He don't have time to look for a guy to throw the ball and then
No,
throw a perfect pass. That ball's got to be out now.
no. And you know what, too? I didn't like that play call at all. I think they should have had way more people out, more targets.
You
They
know
don't.
what? You know what? That I was fine with the play call. I was good with the isolation where they should have done it. Where he fucked up. Where you see Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams do this 10 times out of 10. That throw should have been on his back shoulder instead of in front of him.
Yeah, probably. I don't think it would have mattered anyway. That ball was a little too far.
If it was his back shoulder, he puts on the brakes and what's his name? Gilmore runs straight through him.
Yeah, but you're also throwing off Gilmore, who's pretty good. You know what I mean? Like, so I mean, I don't know. I just think they could have put more weapons out there, more targets, because I think they only had 3.
You're looking for a one-on-one isolated with Devontae Adams versus anybody with that hole into with just
Yeah,
those that's your matchup. What I would have thought would have been better, especially given the fact that you still had time, was if you send them towards the end zone and then have them stop and turn around, because at that
yes.
point everybody's going to go ahead and play it like he's committing to the corner, and when he stops and turns around, the ball will be there and he'll be alone.
Yeah, that's what I thought they should do too. And I also, remember Devontae Adams is really good with yards after the catch.
Yeah.
I don't think you needed to throw it in the end zone on that type of play. If he just did like a post route and then a cross, right? Like, and he catches it on the 1 yard line, Devontae Adams is getting the ball in. You know what I mean? Like, so like, especially if you throw it at the 1 yard mark, he has the speed where he's gonna be able to break that tackle and get it in real quick. I don't think you needed to throw it into the corner of the end zone. I just don't, because there's too many things that could go wrong, like overthrowing it, not throwing it perfectly accurately. There's too many things that go wrong where you could just make a quick throw like that. Devontae Adams can probably catch it. You know what I mean? Like, if you do it you gotta get the ball out of your hands very fast. Boom. If you throw it at the 1 yard line, Devontae Adams is gonna juke one guy, and remember, all you gotta do is cross the pylon. So it's not like, I don't know. I just think the play calling sucks. I never liked this guy, and it looks like the Raiders. Well, at least Mark Davis is telling everyone that he's committed to Josh McDaniels, but we all know why. Let's really break this down. Okay, he had to pay off Jack Del Rio's contract, right? Which had, I think, 3 more years on it. Had to pay off John Gruden's contract, which was huge, right? Now he's paying Josh McDaniels for 4 years, right?
Yeah, the question for those is, I believe that Jack Del Rio's contract ended the same time he stopped paying Gruden, or at least Gruden got fired. Now, when he paid him the settlement, the question is, did he pay him the cash up front and then pay him up to what he'd made up to that point, and then pay him a portion of what he owed him, or is he paying him the whole thing? Because technically he doesn't owe him that money.
Yeah, but he gave him money. So either way, he still pays Josh McDaniels. And then, so if he fires Josh McDaniels, then you're hiring another guy. You know what I mean? That's a lot of money put into head coaches. I mean, that is a lot of cash. And there's no way any of his financial advisors can be like, yeah, that's a smart move. Go, because he's going to have to pay off McDaniels for 3 years. Go hire another head coach, another system. I mean, Derek Carr's already been in. I mean, the only thing I'll give that guy credit for is that he's been in like 1,000 systems. So, like, I mean, he can't really. He made the move. I think he's got to stick with McDaniels through another season. And if next year the Raiders seriously can't do shit again, even if they draft a rookie quarterback, right? Let's say they get rid of Derek Carr, or not even get rid of. They technically could keep Derek Carr and still draft a quarterback, and you know what I mean. But they can get out of his contract after the season. So, but then, I mean, the best thing you could do is get a trade, because you don't want to just cut him for nothing. That's the whole part about that. It's like, then you're just giving away Derek Carr. You're releasing him for nothing. And then you're gonna draft a rookie quarterback and hope that works out. We could have a Jamarcus 2.0 Russell on our hands. We don't know. So that's the only thing that scares me about that.
I'm gonna say something about that whole Derek thing that you ordinarily people aren't used to hearing me say. I would say that they deserve that man deserves to be cut, and he deserves to be cut so that he'll be free to handle his business and go wherever it is that he wants to go for whatever it is, whatever money it is that he thinks that his representation can get him. And have the freedom to do as he wants and not try to force him into a situation and make him eat it. Because
they can't do that anyways. He has a no trade clause. So
no. Well, but you said it's why would they cut him for nothing? And it's not necessarily you're not cutting him for nothing. You're giving him the freedom that he's earned.
Yeah, well, the thing is, I have a feeling he would be like, "Oh, I don't want to go anywhere. I want to stay here." I think that's where the issue is going to be. Not, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know what they're going to do. I mean, they got to draft a quarterback no matter what, in my opinion.
I mean, so then the next thing would be, is he restructuring his contract? Because I'm not paying him $34 million a year to come out and do what he did this year, and I'm certainly not paying him $34 million to sit on the bench. So again,
I mean, I don't know what the Raiders are going to do. I mean, I personally think the Raiders are probably going to release him. Probably. I don't see Josh McDaniels and him going on another year. Josh McDaniels is putting too many hints out there about execution on offense. Oh, if we only executed on this play, on this throw, it's clear. Davante Adams, clear. I mean, he went to the media about it. I mean, he obviously doesn't like the coaching staff. He doesn't like the play calling. That's the only thing that worries me is, they released Derek Carr. Davante Adams says, I don't want to be with this guy either.
He's not going anywhere.
No, I don't know, man. I mean, usually players
paying him a lot of money, and there's opportunity, and there's, if you go back and look at some of his other press conferences, he's also spoken about about being predetermined not to go to him because he's being double teamed, and how sometimes you need to force it to him because he's been getting doubled his whole entire career. And there's a lot of pointed comments that he's put out at his quarterback and the lack of execution as well. And I gotta tell you, coming from Green Bay, where the quarterback made those plays, to Las Vegas, to where the quarterback is not making those plays, eventually the diva in him is going to grow to a position where if somebody can get him the ball and they're winning, that he'll be fine with whoever's back there.
Well, all I know is Aaron Rodgers is extremely overrated. He actually reminds me of Derek Carr. When you've been playing long enough, your stats are going to get really high. The only difference is Aaron Rodgers, he won a Super Bowl, I don't know, 15 years ago when he was a rookie year.
How many MVPs?
Who gives a shit? How many Super Bowls? That's the only thing that matters. This guy can't win in the fourth quarter. He's one of the worst fourth quarter quarterbacks. How many
Super Bowls has Derek Carr won?
Well, I know. That's what I'm saying.
How many MVPs has he got?
Only thing that separates them, MVPs. Oh, yeah, you did great in the regular season, but what happens in the playoffs with that guy every year?
How many times has Derek Carr been to the playoffs?
Once. That's what I'm saying. I'm telling you.
I just wanted to confirm that.
I mean, he has isn't he like the all-time passing leader for the Raiders or something? He has all these big stats for the Raiders. But the thing is, he's been in. The reason why is because he's been on the team for a long time. Any quarterback who's been on the same team for that long obviously is going to break records, all right? Like Aaron Rodgers is going to break records. He's been on the same team. Aaron Rodgers, though, needs all-stars around him or he sucks. We just watched it last night. This guy had multiple chances in the fourth quarter to beat the Titans, formerly known as the greatest team of all time, the Houston Oilers. But multiple times, Aaron Rodgers can't do it. In fact, Kerry Collins, Trent Dilfer, they all have a better fourth quarter comeback record than Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is the most overrated weirdo in the history of the National Football League. Right up there with Derek Carr. Hendon Hooker, let's do it. Let's draft him. Maybe get him in the. There's not how many teams in the NFL need a quarterback right now? How many teams?
There's only two in the top 10, really, that I came up with. Maybe possibly 3 if Houston uses one of their 2 picks on a quarterback. But it would be smarter for them to take 2 premier players and then wait.
Yeah, I think the Raiders might be able to get Hendon Hooker maybe in the second round or something. I really do. The only thing that scares me about him is I don't want to deal with the same thing with Derek Carr with the accuracy issues, because sometimes he throws some stupid passes. But that guy can improvise. And I think in the AFC West and in the NFL, period, now, look around. Look, all of these quarterbacks improvise. You know what I mean? Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes, like Josh Allen, all the great quarterbacks right now take a play. When that play breaks down, what do? They break off and they make a play. Derek Carr does not do that. When he does do that, the Raiders come up with a huge plays. I don't know. That's why I say when he's on the run, like when Derek Carr is on the run, even if it's in the middle, even if he's running through the middle and like he does that little sling thing, he usually makes a good play. But when he sits back there, it's like maybe he can't see over these guys' heads, but the pocket is going to eventually cave in on you, Phil. You can't just sit there, then get mad at the offensive line because you got sacked when you're just
held the ball for 5 seconds and just kind of cover up and just say, let
curl up, Carr. Curl them up. Hey. But either way, that was an embarrassing loss. And, we can't put it all on Derek Carr. That defense is the absolute worst defense in the National Football League. There is no doubt about it. I'm glad they claimed Tillery. What's his first name? Jeffrey?
Jerry Tillery.
Yeah. And so we'll maybe he has something. You know what I mean? Like right now, the Raiders are stuck with Chandler Jones.
He's better than what they got, to be honest with you. I've seen Jerry Tillery make plays at this level, and for all the starting accolades that Andrew Billings has get, that guy's just eating up space. He's not moving.
He's not. I mean, this team needs quarterback pressure. Then their claim to fame is, well, they can stop the run. Well, Jonathan Taylor just fucking ripped one off on them. You know what I mean? Like, come on. You need someone to get after the quarterback. And that defense, Patrick Graham sucks. I hate looking at his face. Patrick Graham sucks. Their cornerbacks are awful. Sam Webb shouldn't really be out there, to be honest with you. Anthony Everett's worse. That guy's terrible. Absolutely terrible. It's time for Raider fans to acknowledge that Trayvon Moehrig is not a great safety. This guy does absolutely nothing so far. Nothing. What has he done since coming into the National Football League that make anyone think that he's a great safety? He has done nothing. Just like Jonathan Abram has really done nothing. And that's why he's gone. Clinton Farrell, I think the Raiders are obviously moving on from him. He was a healthy scratch. He might be a healthy scratch again this week. Who knows? But yeah, so that whole defense needs a rebuild. And that's something I think, the general manager and the head coach, this is something they should have took more seriously in the offseason. They neglected the defense, in my opinion. This is something they really should have looked at, especially a defensive tackle situation. They did nothing to get better there. Nothing. And their linebackers, they still have Denzel Perryman, who they know can't cover. So I don't know why Patrick Graham's put him in a covering situations. But anyways, and then they have Diablo. I mean, he's fine, but he's not, an all-star. Then you have no one else. Like, that's it. You have no one else. And then your back end is just terrible. Harmon's their best player on the back end. So, I mean, that defense is just absolute trash that can't stop a single team. No one. Don't be surprised this week, Raider fans, if Russell Wilson, a guy who sucked all season, right? Just like Matt Ryan, if he starts slicing and dicing the Raiders secondary, just destroys them. I wouldn't be shocked. I would not be shocked at all if that happens.
I would be, because I've watched Russell Wilson, and you could give him all the time in the world. His shoulder is jacked up. His
Yeah.
accuracy is gone, and I feel 100% confident that he could stand back there all weekend long and still would go maybe 13 to 21 for 140 yards.
Phil, Matt Ryan. Have you seen Matt Ryan this season?
Matt Ryan was on the NFL equivalent of death's doorstep.
Okay. He just went into Las Vegas and tore them apart. And he's all banged up and old, way older than Russell Wilson. What happens is Russell Wilson starts running, using his legs, something he doesn't want to do because he has such a fragile ego. He's scared he's going to hurt. But what happens if he does start using his legs? And the Raiders are doomed. I'm telling you that you cannot this season. You can't pick.
It's
What?
the Broncos. It's the Broncos.
It's the Raiders who just lost against the Jaguars.
It's the Broncos.
Yeah, I
said, look, mark my fucking word right now. I guarantee it right now. This will be the last game the Raiders win on the season.
I don't know their schedule. They should be able to beat the Broncos, but you got
Chargers, Pittsburgh, Niners, Chiefs. There's who else is in there?
See, that's why I tell Raider fans right now, since your playoff hopes are over, what you really want to root for is the Raiders to play spoiler. Like when they play the Chiefs later this season, if they somehow can pull off like an upset there and mess up the Chiefs playoff seeding and stuff, that's what you want to root for. I've been covering this team, I was just telling Phil, for almost 10 years. I'm so used to this team losing. To me, it's not like a big deal. I mean, you still watch the games. It's not like you watch the games and say, oh, I hope they lose. You're still going to put the game on and hope they win. And, I mean, you want them to win, obviously. No one is telling the truth if they say, oh, I want the Raiders to lose, and they put the game on. And they're watching the game hoping the Raiders lose. I don't believe you. I don't believe anyone does that. I really don't. Now,
unless you're fans of the competition, but I do have that schedule for you if you're ready for it.
Yeah.
So we got the Broncos this week, Seahawks in Seattle next week, Chargers at home, Rams in SoFi, Patriots at home, Steelers in Pittsburgh, Niners at home, Chiefs at home.
The Rams is one that I can see the Raiders pulling off.
And they'll be on the road, and they haven't won a game on the road this year.
The Raiders haven't, and they're going a mile high this week. That's why I say
it's still Denver, and as long as they run the football, the Denver won't be able to stop it.
Still Jacksonville, still the Indianapolis Colts. Did it matter? No.
Colts beat the Chiefs. The Raiders didn't beat the Chiefs.
The Raiders only beat the Houston Texans.
Yeah, but the Colts only beat the Chiefs.
Yeah, it's a fluke. It's a fluke. You know that. So, anyways, I expect the Raiders to win. Obviously, it's the Broncos, but I can't personally say, oh, yeah, they're going to win, especially after they just lost against the Colts. That's so embarrassing. And then the Jaguars the week before. I mean, I know I don't think I was on this show the week before. You guys are lucky because I was breaking shit. But that is so embarrassing. So embarrassing to go out there and lose against the Jacksonville Jaguars and then the Indianapolis Colts. Like, that is the most embarrassing thing in the world. And
Is it really that unbelievable? You got Jeff Saturday, the ultimate offensive line coach, who managed to talk to the Colts deep offensive line and point out that this is the Raiders defensive line. If you assholes can't get it together against these guys, then you don't deserve to be here.
Well, I mean,
because that's what fucking happened.
Yeah, again, they had a guy calling plays that was the assistant quarterback coach who's never called plays in his entire life, dial up plays that Patrick Graham couldn't stop. And
Steve, these guys couldn't block a gust of wind out on an empty field.
They are the worst defense I've ever seen in my life. And I'm not even joking. I'm not kidding. The 2005 Raiders defense, everyone knows that was a bad defense. They're better. The 2008 Raiders defense, I would take over this defense. These players suck. There's one good player on that defense, and that's Max Crosby. I feel bad for him. I mean, the poor guy. I mean, I bet you he wishes he never signed that contract. But yeah, I mean, it's just it's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. But this team has to they have to beat Denver, right? I mean, if they can beat Denver, maybe that'll make them feel a little better about themselves. And then just take it from there. Right now, you take it one game at a time. You never know what happens in freaking the NFL nowadays. There's so much weird stuff that happens. So you just got to take it by one game at a time and just wherever you lie at the end of the season. I mean, whatever happens, happens. That's the only thing the Raiders can do right now. You know what I mean? Like that's the only thing they can do is just go out there and try to play. But it is good kind of since if Josh McDaniels is going to stay and Dave Ziegler and all those guys, it is good for this reason. They now get to look at what players they want for next season. It's almost like all these games are preseason games for them now. They get a good look at Derek Carr to see if they really do want to keep him or not. Because that's a big decision. Because then you got to, like I said, I mean, if you're not going to keep him, you got to have a plan, obviously, who you're going to get at quarterback.
You'll need some money to throw at that defense too, and that $34 million will go quite nicely.
Dude, and that's another problem. You're paying Chandler Jones all this money. What are you going to do about that? I mean, what are they going to do? Honestly, what are they going to do about Chandler Jones?
He's got to restructure. He's got to restructure. They got to bust out some sheet pictures or something and get him voided off the books. I got to retire.
Maybe he just retires.
I would be sick looking at that. I'd be like, listen, man, just take this money. You get about half of it. Just.
He can't stay. He can't.
No.
I mean, this guy. I mean, I thought he was going to be good. You know what I mean? So I can't come out.
I was torn on if he was going to be a lead or not, but it really stood out when you look at the 10 sacks, he got 5 in one game.
Yeah,
the rest of the season only got 5, and I was like, oh well, that's because their defensive line was bad. No,
he just. And you know what's gonna end up happening, right? He's gonna end up getting in one game 6 sacks, and then that's all people are gonna look at are stats. This is why I fucking hate stats. This is why I hate when people use stats for everything. Stats. The only thing that matters are your eyeballs and what is going on that field. I don't care about stats. Stats lie a lot. Yes, some don't lie, obviously. Some tell the story. But a lot of these stats are complete BS. A lot of them are just complete lies. Like that example, Chandler Jones basically got those sacks in 2 games, right? So if he gets, let's say, 4 sacks against Denver, right? And then gets 2 or 3 against Pittsburgh, he ends up with 7 sacks. That's the only thing people are going to see. All the talking heads in the media who suck. That's the only thing they're going to see. Well, obviously they have a good defensive
rush. They got, he's got 7 sacks.
Yeah, they have Chandler Jones with 7 sacks last season and Max Crosby. Meanwhile, they are forgetting the guy was a ghost for more than half the season.
Games out of the year.
Yeah, they got to get rid of his old ass. He is done. He is kaput. He is done. Retire. You don't got it no more. So hopefully Tillery and, I think the Raiders should draft a defensive end in the first round, to be honest.
I got to see a if there's a guy that exists, they need to get the biggest, baddest Daryl Russell copy defensive tackle that is available. I don't care. They
Yeah,
need somebody who's going to make a difference. If they do nothing else in this draft, they need a guy who's going to make a difference at every level on the defense. You need a new quarterback and
you need a
figure out what
linebacker.
you're going to do. That includes at every level. You need a defensive lineman. You need linebacker. You need two of them. And
Yeah.
really, you should be drafting them high. I don't want to. I've heard all of this. Let's draft them mid to late. No, I need a guy who's a fucking difference maker.
Listen,
Who's going to go
Phil.
out there.
Phil, the Raiders neglected the linebacker position in the draft for the last like 6 years.
30.
I mean, and look at all these linebackers that they passed on because they went and got some other person that no one gives a shit about. They passed up some of the best linebackers that literally, if they would have drafted, this team would look drastically different right now. They passed up way too many great linebackers. They can't do that again. I don't care if it's the first round. If that linebacker is there and that guy is going to be awesome, you got to take him. You have to take him. I mean, you can't pass him up because you damn well know the Illuminar's not going to stay where he is. I have a really bad feeling they end up just drafting a right tackle in the first round. Hopefully they don't do that because I just do it in free agency. You know what I mean? That's another problem with this team. They have to be, you don't have to overspend, and all this shit, but at least bring some bodies in during free agency. Don't neglect it.
Bodies.
Yeah, I mean, do some research. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I should apply for a job there. I mean, it's pretty easy to do. Look around the NFL, see the guys that are free agents that make an impact, right? That are good. Maybe they're not even the first string, but that they will be really good if they get an opportunity to play out there. Because what this team needs is depth. They don't have none. I mean, they have none. Look,
zero.
Nothing. I mean, the defensive line, there is no one there. There is no one there. That offensive line, I mean, one guy gets injured, they're pretty much screwed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, they're just shuffling guys left and right. Andre James, by the way, I don't like him either. I don't like the center, Andre James. I'm sick of his flat football. I think Dylan Parham was doing okay at center. I'd like to see more of him at center.
I know he's with James. They've been better with James up until teams have started stacking boxes.
Yeah,
more than they can block.
When they send someone up the middle on James, he has a big problem there. A big problem. And that's what I think Derek Carr is. I think that's in his head pretty much every play. You know what I mean? If they send a blitz, are these guys going to be able to handle it? And usually they can't. They're really good when there's no blitz. So that if it's just one-on-one, usually they can hold their own. But when a team sends a blitz, that's when that defense
runs a stunt.
Yeah, that's when the offensive line starts to crumble down. But if it's just like let's say a 4-3 whatever, that they will. I mean, Derek Carr will have 4 to 5 seconds to throw the ball, make a decision, whatever. But when they throw the double stunts or any kind of thing, twist on them, oh boy, that's when you got to get a little nervous there. That's when things start breaking down for that offensive line. So that's the only time Derek Carr really has when he's under duress, But yeah, they got to get better players. But again, they can do that in free agency. Bring in some old guys. Who cares? As long as they can protect. And then you have the guys you have now. They're all under contract. So you just bring other guys in as competition that are better than them. And you have these guys you have currently for depth. It's not that hard. That's how you build. But this was never. Don't get it twisted. When Josh McDaniels got hired, Mark Davis got asked right in front of Josh McDaniels, "Are you doing a rebuild?" No, there is no rebuild. We are playing to win and win now. And the moves they made, like signing an old Chandler Jones, giving a first-round pick for Devontae Adams, doing all of these things, signing all these guys to 2-year deals, that is not a team that's thinking about the future or rebuilding. No. That is the team that was looking to win and win now. And now that they failed, Now, of course, they're going to use that excuse. Well, we got to look, dude, you only have these guys for 2-year extensions. You know what I mean? Like, that's it. So they better get something right and get it right fast, because this team's trash, bro.
No, I can't argue with it. I tried, and I wanted to keep hope alive, but I've watched it now consecutively for weeks, and it's gotten to a point where whenever they go out to leads, it's like, let me go get my popcorn and sit down and watch. I don't know how they're going to fuck this up, but it's going to be spectacular when it finally happens.
I mean,
On that last drive that everybody, that's got Derek Carr crying. I called it as soon as they got the ball. I was in one of the other group chats that I'm in, and I was saying, watch this. So I'm going to tell you exactly what's going to happen right now. We're going to drive all the way down the field. He's going to get up right to about the red zone, maybe even up to the goal line. And then he's either going to throw a pick or they're not going to get it done. And lo and behold, from the 15-yard line on 4th down, they send a blitz. He got one-on-one coverage. He throws it. As soon as I saw Gilmore out there with Devontae, I knew everybody in the whole world knew where the ball was going.
Of course. That's why I said I think it was a shitty play design. I think they should put more. There wasn't enough players out there, a receiver. And they knew what they were doing. It didn't matter anyways, because that was going to be the call. You know what I mean? Like, he was going to Devontae Adams regardless on that.
Yeah.
So it didn't really matter. But, it's just such a shame because they have the talent there. You know what I mean? The defense, yeah, they seriously lack talent. But the offense really should have no excuses. They really shouldn't. I mean, you have Devontae Adams on your team. You have Josh Jacobs. Most teams would kill to have just those two guys.
Renfro and Waller. You got a tight end who refuses to play with his quarterback.
Yeah, well, he's a crybaby pussy. He'd rather do his shitty little rap videos that no one watches. I mean, his rap videos are so corny. It's like, dude, just stop. I hate when nothing bothers me more when football players try to be rappers. I hate that. I can't stand that. Have you ever heard of a football player that was a successful rapper?
Can't say that I have.
No, and there's probably 20 of them out right now in the National Football League. I think they're rappers. If you go on YouTube and write whatever, Arizona Cardinals rapper, I bet you there's one guy on the team that has a rap video out. It's like, dude, you're not a rapper. Stop it. Stop this. Stop making rap videos and go out there and start preparing to be a tight end because you just got paid, even though you should have never have gotten paid. Never. I was not for that at all. He was already under contract that he just signed in 2019. He already signed a deal. There's no reason to give him any more money. And then look, he misses 5 games last season. And then this year, what does he do? Misses more games. So now we're right back at it. Yet you're rewarding him. And it's Mark Davis, I'm telling you, because he feels bad for him because the whole story and John Gruden discovered him and all this, his whole story. Yes, it's really sad and whatever, but still, at the end of the day, this is a business, and that's something that Mark Davis has to start understanding. He starts getting these relationships with these people, these players, and it's like he can't let them go. That's the only reason why Derek Carr is still the quarterback of the Raiders, dude. It's because Mark Davis. That's the only reason why the Raiders have not moved on from this guy. They would have moved on from him a long time ago. But Mark Davis, Derek Carr. I mean, Derek Carr is a great showman. Remember, he does that fake Jesus shit. So he loves Mr. Davis. Probably he kisses his ass all the time. And Mark Davis obviously just wants friends. You know what I mean? He loves when anyone's his friend. Look at Marcel Reese. This guy's got the best gig in the world. He just hangs out with Mark Davis all day. So I mean, and then Mark Davis develops these relationships, and the next thing you know, that person can't do no wrong. You know what I mean? Like he had that with John Gruden. If that stuff never came out about John Gruden would have been the coach here
He'll be here
forever.
forever.
Forever. And you know, the Raiders would win 8 games this season. You know what I mean? Like it would take I think John Gruden eventually would have had enough with Derek Carr though, because usually he does about 4 years with a quarterback and then just can't take it no more. So he could be bet. I mean, I listened to Chris Sims talk about it. He's like, this guy was at my house for Christmas. He loved me. Like, and then like all of a sudden it's like, I want something else. You know what I mean? Like John Gruden can flip the switch like that. You know what I mean? Like, oh, you think you're good with him, and he's on to someone else. So, I mean, that's the only shame that came out of this is like, if Derek Carr is playing like this under Gruden, let's say Gruden's still there, right? And it's this season, and the Raiders made the playoffs last year. Let's say they did the same exact thing with Richie Biscotti did but with John Gruden. They made the playoffs, they lost, and then this year he gets Davante, because that's something he would do. They get Davante Adams, and Derek Carr is playing like this. I think John Gruden would.
He'd have got rid of him so fast. He probably would have actually finally benched him.
Yeah,
he would have been like, "There's no way that I'm getting ready to waste this season because you're out here missing this many opportunities. I gotta have something that's available to me, and then take a look at all these quarterbacks that he's got coming out this year." Because a lot of the guy that we constantly look over, who I keep looking at, and every time I look at him, I was like, I think that's exactly a direction they would go, is C.J. Stroud.
Well, where does he play?
Ohio State.
Oh, yeah, okay, Ohio State. I only know him by the schools.
Right.
Yeah, I do get nervous about Ohio State quarterbacks, so I'm not gonna lie.
Well, Justin Fields looks pretty damn good right now, especially since they gave him somebody to throw to. Now imagine if he had Davante Adams.
I know, but they always, same with Alabama quarterbacks. I don't know what it is, but they always make me nervous because they're either gonna be really good, they're gonna be good, or they're gonna suck. It's like one or the other, But
they're on the upswing right now, and I got to tell you, guy, they got coming out this year is one I think would do quite nicely too. And I seen him just firing up the shit out of his whole team on the sideline, and he was actually doing it so tough that Nick Saban had to tell him to be quiet so he could fire up the team.
Yeah, I know. I mean, Bryce Young. I mean, he looks pretty good to me. I mean, I think he's probably going to be good. I really do.
Skills are insane. But let's go ahead and wrap this up. I got to do a movie here, boy.
All right, guys. So listen, we got a big game coming against Denver. Let's see if this team can get a win and get back on track and get the morale up in that locker room. And let's just hope this doesn't turn out more of a disaster. Phil, you want to plug anything before we go?
Check me out on The Unfiltered Truth. I'll probably be shooting it sometime later on today. I'll be out at Pasadena this weekend for USC versus UCLA, doing a live show for LA Football Network. And we've got some real big news coming up that I will release later on my channel when it's time.
All right. And you can check out the Raiders Daily Podcast, which will be up next week. And you know where to find me. All right. For Phil, me, this is the Raiders Weekly. We'll see you next week.